Jillian Ndirangu is a woman born and raised in Nairobi, to a lovely lady by the name of Josephine Ndirangu, and a lovely gentleman by the name of the late Dr. Kagiri Ndirangu. I have two older sisters. We are three girls. There's quite a big age gap between me and my elder sisters. So the one I follow is 8 years older than me. And then the other one is 10 years older than me. And then there's me, I'm 37, born on the 9th of October, 1987. So primary school, I started off in Kianda High. I was there till standard 4. Then I went into boarding school to a school called Mount Kenya Academy. After that, I came back to Kianda for high school. Did my KCSE there. For university, I went to Catholic University. I was there from the year 2006, if I am not wrong, to 2010. Finished that, went through the normal program of School of Law. While at School of Law, I was lucky enough to get an internship with a senior counsel by the name of Lucy Kambuni. So I did my internship. I also did my pupillage there. And when I was admitted to the bar in 2012, she graciously employed me as an advocate. So my role model was my father, my late father, actually. He was a doctor. He specialized in the nephrology, which is a study of the kidneys. So I always wanted to be a doctor. Until the very last minute, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's God, it's purpose, whatever it was, I just suddenly decided to do the law. I later on found out that I emulate my father so much to the point of where even him when he was younger, he always wanted to be a lawyer. And for whatever reason, he changed his mind last minute to be a doctor. So I'm my father's child. I think I just felt I had more to give in that space. So once upon a time, I used to think I was a musician, or I thought I had artistic inclinations. And so I was in a rock band.
Wow.
So
Tell
yeah.
us more about that. About the rock.
So it was a small, like the rock community is not very big. So there was a small rock band called Dove Slim. And yeah, so I was in the band and, and used to perform for, what was it called? For exposure. I was like, this exposure will not feed me, by the way. So I decided to take up something else. Well, I needed to eat, but at the same time, I really felt I needed to defend the rights of artists and, in that intellectual property space and just stop being abused left, right, and center. So even though I was still doing law at the time, I was just kind of going with the flow, but that was what cemented my interest in the law and specifically in intellectual property. I know I sound a little rough, but I used to be a vocalist. Those days, anyone who was in the rock scene those days will know Kachoi, Rezoras, what was this other place? Gosh. So just that Electric Avenue sometimes. Just like you'd find wherever anyone would have us, we would go. Rift Valley Festival, yeah, quite a few times. There used to be Oktoberfest. Yeah, we actually won a few small titles. Tutafute to call. The rock community is not very big, and I didn't want to do any other genre. The space is already saturated with, Afro Neo Soul, Lingala, Mugithi, people who do what they do and they do it well. And I didn't want to kind of venture into another field. It was a very small song. I think it has 1,000 views the last time I checked on YouTube. A whole 1,000. There are X spaces that are hosting more people than my views. It's called Leo Ni Leo. Yeah. You want me to sing it?
Yeah, just the line.
Oh my God. Where is this video going to be seen? This time, tomorrow it will mean nothing. Leo Ni Leo. So it entails more protecting creative rights, the rights of creatives. So whether it be your translation or how you put down your ideas, whether it's in written form, whether it's in technology, that is what we're looking at. Whether it's your brand name, that is what we're protecting largely. So there was a time it wasn't very, but now, in fact, I've actually taken a big step back from intellectual property. There are several very well-renowned IP lawyers now. So the space that you're talking about that is more well-known is the one I've fallen back on a lot more in life. Yeah, so the commercial litigation, your typical debt recovery, bank restructure, financing, that kind of scene, yeah. I feel that where I want to be is in diversifying not just a portfolio for myself, but diversifying the space for women, female practitioners, and for male as well. Let me say why I am talking about the male ones as well. Because the women have really been backward. We have support wherever you see, even like if you go for these women youth and whatever funds, there's always a space for women. And women have been covered. But some of my worry is that I feel like sometimes the boys are feeling a little left behind. I'm not saying that I will be the one to do that. Certainly not. If they'll have me, I'm happy to, lend a helping hand. But there's so many men out there also who you can kind of nudge, like take someone under your shoulder, under your wing, because there's a boy somewhere who's looking a bit lost, and if they had a good role model with them, us women wouldn't be crying in the streets how we are struggling. I'm mainly a litigator. What that means is you go to court all the time. So you're dealing with judges, you're dealing with clerks, you're dealing with other lawyers on the other end. And that's not to say other people don't do that in other fields, they do. But this one requires you to be thinking on your feet constantly. And there are times you'll be knocked down in front of a client, and you have to kind of pick yourself up, and act like, yeah, that's just another. So one of my issues is that you never know what kind of day you'll get.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to recover very quickly, or kind of take your blows and be like, okay, you're not dead, get up, That's the first one. The second one is, it doesn't feel like there are enough of us women in practice. So yeah, so I want more ladies to kind of like, back us up a little bit. So you kind of always feel that you kind of have to scream a little louder over the men. Yeah, you get. And what you're saying, the fact that I do understand I do look younger than I am, and that sometimes has been a bit of a hindrance. To be honest, it's not an easy field. Like you're saying, if you don't have a thick skin, that's not to say women do not have a thick skin. They do, but you're constantly think of Ali. Every time he got punched, you're taking a blow to the head, to the point of where he developed Parkinson's, So you need to be able to shake it off. And sometimes if you keep being punched over and over, at what point do you say, let me keep going? Or at what point do you say, I'm out? So that is part of the reason. So there's an element of, and even then, who do you turn to when you've had a tough day? And, guys, I don't know how guys do it. Guys, unachapwa moja, you wake up and you're like, next. And that's why even guys are, for even lack of a better way of putting it, that's why men ask women out, because you're ready to throw your stone in 10 different directions, you're bound to hit something. As women, if you're rejected once, I'm out. I mean, that's it. Let me go and join the church, kind of thing. So it translates in every field. It translates in every space. So that's part of the reason. Yeah. Well, now I don't. Let me clarify that the journey has not ended. It is still growing. There are not many. It depends on which field you're in. There are some people who will know my name. There are some who might not. So I don't want to get to that space where somebody doesn't need to ask, how do you pronounce your name? That's what it happens. There are people. The number of names I've been called Justus, Julian, Julia. Like, you're not the only one. But you see, for instance, when you say the name Shakira, kuna mmoja, kuna mwingine, and you don't have to ask how is that said, Shakaida, Shakahola. That for me would feel like I've gotten somewhere. But not just that. Contributing. the good thing about the law, your contribution to this field is very easy to measure. They're very simple things. First, when you're admitted to the bar, you take 3 years, you become a commissioner of oaths. That means now you can kind of like certify that these documents are, yes, they are real, they come from this person. 6 years after that, you can become a notary public. Now that means that you're able to certify documents to the world. That yes, these documents have come from this person in this country, and yes, 10 years, this person now can qualify to be a judge. So our milestones are set for us, and it's a matter of you grabbing what you want. I have thought about maybe the judiciary one time, or maybe just staying in practice and building jurisprudence on commercial litigation. I'm still settling, and the good thing is decisions don't have to be made right now. But there are several options, and let's just see where it goes. The fact that I'm not necessarily, I don't know, maybe you'll tell me or somebody else will. People see lawyers as kind of stuffy and maybe very set in their ways, and all we ever talk about is the law or whatever. But I think the blessing of coming from the background of some artistic elements is you're able to apply some of that so that you have a bit more fluidity. You can kind of try and mold something which feels very rigid. And that for me is what I hope is the contribution I bring to my field, my team, my clients. The desire to leave a mark and to feel like what that mark looks like. Not all of us will be Nelson Mandela's or Desmond Tutu's. Your mark doesn't have to be in the world. You can leave that mark in your space. What else that drives me is that I was very lucky to have been mentored by very many people who found time for me, even when they were in the middle of their days. They were very generous. And I have an uncle who asked me, Jillian, because you were given, what are you doing? You feel that you need to give back in that way to the memory of those who gave their time to you. Do something so that even their mark is felt by what they gave to you. So that to some extent, a large extent, is what drives me. So that it feels like their work did not go in vain. Yeah. I'll start with June Gashui. Again, she's a lawyer, IP, musician. So for lack of a better word, it almost looks like I'm just copying what she's doing, tick, 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 tick. But yeah, so that was an obvious one for me. She's been able to balance her practice, her artistry, her social work, even, and her contribution through all of these things that are not TED Talks, the Kenyan version of Engage, you call it Engage or something like that. But she gives back in her own way. So that for me would be that would be a good metric. Internationally, I used to like the work of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Justice of the Supreme Court. I also admire her work ethic. Like, she worked until almost the very end. She held on to her seat even when she shouldn't have been. But that is a kind of tenacity that I wish I could emulate. Well, I'm still learning. The question that you asked me were like, where if I reach, I'll feel I've arrived. You're never arriving. And the moment you stop learning, now all you're doing is just consuming. You're consuming oxygen, you're consuming people's space, you're consuming people's time. So don't ever switch off. Listen keenly, listen with every sense, feel, touch, smell. Like I know it sounds weird to say listen with your hands, but absorb anything and everything that you can take. You don't always have to learn positive lessons from it. You can also learn by processes of elimination. I used to read a lot, but you find in this profession you get exhausted.
Yeah, sure.
Because you read volumes. So my husband does a lot of outdoor stuff, so I tag along a lot. So we do like hiking, rock climbing, camping. Yeah. So that is where I wasn't into it to begin with, but the more you do it, the more you find that it's a it's low hanging fruit. And we have so many hidden gems in this country. Like, you don't even have to go far, by the way. just Ukutulu, Kenya, Ukutulu, Limuru, like Kilimambogo. Don't think that you have to take yourself to Mount Kenya or Aberdares to do these things. They're right in your backyard, and you'd be surprised how free and cheap they are, and just how much clearer you feel after it. If you don't love what you're doing, of course you'll be bored. That if you do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.